I wanted to delve into each of your key takeaways from the roundtable and the participants. So what stood out for each of you regarding their overall investments in real world evidence, their uses, and the like? So I'll start with you, Amy.
Yes, so I think one of my key takeaways is, in particular from a data viewpoint, how much industry is investing in methodology to ensure that the methodology that they present either to a payer or to a regulatory authority really is sound, because as we discussed, whether or not this complements randomized clinical trials or post-marketing safety data or some other piece for a regulatory authority or payer, that or whether it replaces something, it really needs to be based on sound methodology. And so I think that is something that really is being focused on both by the industry members as well as some of the key associations who support real world data gathering and to make it into real world evidence.
To me, it was a phenomenal panel discussion. I think there was so much rich content, and it's hard, Lisa, to pull out pieces that was great, because there were so many. I think one that stood out for me is I was pleasantly surprised by how early in the development life cycle people are using now with actual use cases, real world evidence. For many years, it's been the stalwart in the post-approval space, a little bit of use in terms of clinical trial optimization, informing designs. But what we heard on the panel today is all the way from target profile creation, target identification, defining a market, also in the discovery phases. So I was surprised in a pleasant way by that.
Excellent. And Peyton?
Yeah, I would echo the breadth of the use was really one of the big takeaways for me of RWE. But, in addition to the examples I just gave, I think we're seeing a cultural transformation created with RWE really being the hub and connecting a commercial leadership and C-suite leadership with drug development leaders so that we can make better decisions in clinical trial design and targets early, but that are really focused on ultimately addressing unmet patient needs as well.
Excellent. Leanne?
I thought the panel discussion was truly wonderful and amazing. And, having worked in this space for quite some time, it's really great to see, I think, how the acceptance of this has grown and how we heard so many of the voices today really speaking to the importance that RWE is playing within their organizations. And importantly, I think thinking about the globalization of this, understanding that real world evidence is something that they are looking at around the globe in a variety of markets, that we're seeing the regulatory support for that and the payer support for that globally. And also that we're recognizing that it plays a real role in conjunction with clinical trials in a supplementary and partnership role, I think, with clinical trials to answer all of the critical questions that we need. The recognition that real world evidence answers a different set of questions, and the aggregate of those answers, I think, is what's going to be important in drug development going forward.
I thought that was a very good point, and I believe Amy made it on our end, and that is looking at the risk-benefit ratio in specific areas where it's probably tilted to favor the adoption of some of these more innovative real-world evidence approaches because of the unmet medical need. I think rare diseases was one example. So leading the pathway through some of these areas where there's a huge unmet medical need and an unbalanced risk-benefit equation. I thought that was a very good discussion and how people responded to that.
I'm going to be honest, I am pleasantly surprised by the depth and breadth of thought going into this across the industry, companies big and small, and as Sai pointed out, early and late development. This clearly is going to be a key piece of how we provide evidence in the future, and people are thinking about it now and jumping into it now. And I think I was surprised by how every company is thinking about it right now and is working on it right now. And so, for anyone who isn't prepared for the advent of real world data becoming real world evidence, you shouldn't be surprised when it does, because we're already there.
I think this has been a journey that's been in the making for several years. Clearly, people have been thinking about it. But what has really helped the adoption and what has been a true catalyst has been the pandemic, sort of forcing a lot of these issues to the forefront. So despite all the bad things associated with the COVID pandemic, I think it has really provided a lot of impetus in a short period of time for this initiative and for the adoption of real world evidence overall.